Good evening. It's 6 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is a regular meeting of the Manitou Springs City Council for August the 19th, 2025. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'll ask the city clerk to call the roll, but I will note that Councilor Weatherholt indicated that she would not be attending tonight.
Thank you. City Council members, Judith Chandler,
Present.
John Shada,
Here.
Julie Wolf,
Here.
Nancy Fortune,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Natalie Johnson,
Here.
and Mayor John Graham.
Present. Thank you. And before we get started, I'd like to speak to something that happened over the weekend, something very unfortunate, and that was, I think probably everyone here knows it. A COG employee was assaulted a little afternoon on Saturday. The individual's in the hospital, I understand, in critical condition. The police apprehended an individual, and I believe he's been charged. Anyway, this is not the standard for Manitou. We try to be a friendly and happy place. So this is not welcome in Manitou. City Council is justifiably upset about this, and we extend our sympathies to the victim, and we hope that all the individuals up the COG Railway are coping okay. That said, I would like to introduce Mr. Dan Harvey tonight. He's sitting in the chair normally occupied by Jeff Parker, who had surgery last week. So Dan is he's a associate, I believe, he's with the practice. So Dan is going to be providing our legal counsel for this evening. Okay. Oh, and Dan, when you talk, if you'll press the center button on the microphone, it'll go green. And then you want to be have your mouth about 3 inches away from the microphone. Okay, great. Very good. With that, Council, you've had an opportunity to look over the agenda, so I would seek a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. Let's vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Great. Okay, now we can get to work. Next item is public comment on non-agenda items. I know we have at least one individual who wishes to speak to an item that's not on the agenda. Craig Miller, would you like to come forward, sir? And during this part of the meeting, we ask speakers to limit themselves to 3 minutes. And if you'd start by giving us your name and address, please.
Correct. Craig Miller, 809 Duclos Avenue.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm bringing up, we received a ticket for our dumpster that we have had on Duclos Avenue for the last 5 years, which we've never had any issues until just recently. It is true, it's sitting on the city street. It's in a yellow zone in between vehicles. It doesn't impede on any other traffic of any sort, emergency vehicles, school buses, regular traffic. It doesn't impede on the pedestrians at all whatsoever. But because it is sitting on the street, they've asked us to remove it. We have had options before where we have placed it, had trash cans on the sidewalk, which we had to bolt to our historic wall that sits there, a 6-foot limestone wall, which the bears still tended to rip into the trash cans. That's why we switched over to the dumpster, because they cannot get into our dumpster. We've secured it tight and everything. I have spoken with planning department director. We've also spoken to code enforcement. Spoke to them again today about having a meeting between them and the city works director. So they're setting up a meeting between us and them to see if we can come up with a solution to keep us from having to move those trash cans or dumpster up onto the property, because it becomes a huge issue when you put it up on the other parts of our property. We can't bring 8 trash cans down a flight of stairs. We have older people. This is a multi-family residence. So we have multiple trash cans, multiple people of all ages. So it becomes an issue for that. We met with Natalie just for a couple minutes and I gave her samples of what we have throughout Manitou. So I'm not just looking at our individual situation. I'm looking at throughout Manitou because it's throughout Manitou. We have those same issues with dumpsters and trash cans wherever you're at. The trash cans never move off the sidewalks. We've had them on the sidewalks. I don't like them on the sidewalks. I want them off the sidewalk. I came up with options of putting it in between the sidewalk and the street, just like how Manitou Avenue is set up with the trash cans that we are supplied by the city. So it removes that issue. We would have to cut the curb to put in an alcove to be able to put that in there, but they still don't want to do that. And that's why I'm just basically giving you guys a heads up that we're going to work our way through the process of planning and city works to see if we can work something out on those options. Eventually, we may be coming to you to look at the ordinance and see if we can change it because you just can't get rid of all the trash cans on the street or on the sidewalk throughout Manitou. It's a parking issue. It's the same as parking issues. It's a limited space. So I'm just basically giving you guys heads up. So I have copies of what I gave to Natalie. If council wants to see them, they're welcome to it. That's about it. I mean, it's just an issue that we've got and the judge gave us 30 days today to figure it out, basically.
Okay, good. Thank you. Appreciate your bringing us up to speed with the current state of things.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. As far as I know, Craig was the only individual who wanted to speak tonight. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak to a non-agenda item? Okay, if you'd come forward, ma'am. And we'll need you to give your name and address. You're limited to 3 minutes. And council doesn't respond to comments made during the public comment period. Okay, you need to turn the microphone on. There's a button there in the middle. Green light will come on. And then try to
Can you hear me
have your
now?
mouth about three inches away from the mic.
Okay. My name is Shannon Norgord. I live at 801 Duclos Avenue, and I would also like to discuss the dumpster issue on Duclos Avenue. The pictures that I am passing around are of the 3 dumpsters that are on the avenue, that are on Duclos Avenue, plus an additional trash can that has its own little cubby. I have read through the rules that you set forward, and it doesn't say that we can't have trash cans that are actually movable. It refers only to roll-off dumpsters, but we are being told that we're going to have to pay between $300 and $400 a month. But I'd like to point out that we can also pay $15 to $30 per week. So if you guys decide that you want to keep this, I will be filing every week because $30 is a lot less than $200. So I understand that you want to be able to permit large dumpsters and storage pods and immovable objects, but the objects that you are focusing on are movable. They move them all the time. If it's a matter of the parking, my personal trash can is between 2 of my vehicles. My neighbor has his in a drainage system that you guys put in. And the guys down the street, they have theirs out front as well. But I'm just asking you to reconsider what you are asking of us, because personally, I feel like you are targeting people that have multi units on their properties or many people on their properties. And in my case, I have the dumpster because I'm cleaning out 55, 56 years of hoarding from my family. Please reconsider.
Okay, thank you. And Shannon, is it?
Yes.
Could you fill out a form? There's some over on the table there. If you give it to the city clerk, because we use this information in the minutes
Thank
to
you.
identify the speakers. Okay, thank you. Okay. Do we have anyone else who'd like to speak to a non-agenda item? Okay. If not, we'll move on. And our next item of business is our consent calendar. We've got six items on it tonight. First is presentation of warrants. It's basically the city's checkbook. The second item, the approval of the regular meeting minutes for the August 5th, 2025 regular city council meeting. Third, request to approve professional services agreement with Roxol Consulting Group for Creek Walk Phase 4 construction support services. Fourth is a request to approve a professional services agreement with Horde Copeland Mock Incorporated for Soda Springs Park Phase 3 construction drawings. Fifth item is request to approve a general services agreement with 633 Construction LLC for Sandra Lane repairs. And the sixth item is fund transfer from Phase 1 to Phase 2 for the Hiawatha Gardens project. If any counselor wants to take an item off the consent calendar, discuss it separately, we can certainly do that. If not, I'd look for a motion to approve and accept the consent calendar. Julie,
I'd like to take the warrants off,
which the warrants off?
please.
Okay, so that's item F1. So the warrants will be discussed separately. Do we have any other concerns from council?
I don't have a concern, but I do have a question on number 5.
Okay, let's take 5 off then. We'll discuss it separately. That leaves us with 2, 3, 4, and 6. Do we have a motion to approve those 4 items?
I move to approve F2, 3, 4, and 6 on the consent calendar.
Thank you. We have a second?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Councilor Wolf. Okay, the motion is to approve items F2, F3, F4, and F6 from the consent calendar. Let's vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, great. Thank you. So let's take things in order then. So F1, presentation of warrants. Julie, you had a concern.
Yes, I was just wondering, since we just gave the Pikes Peak Bulletin $7,000 and then they shut down or at least discontinued the pages involving publishing local events and arts and stuff, why did we just pay them $442?
That would be for publications that the city put into the newspaper, which were already occurred. So we did owe them for those expenses. That the donation was a donation, was for an entirely separate matter. And that didn't negate the fact that we owed them for those publishments.
And were we able to get any kind of rebate or refund for the unused portion of the 7,000?
That'll be part of the match discussion when they meet next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Julie, if I remember correctly, the match applications included a $7,000 grant to the bulletin. So I think that's what that is. Is that correct, Becca?
Yes, the amount that Julie was talking about was the grant, which was given for an entire year of those.
Yeah, I was
Right.
asking about the $442
okay, that's-
we paid them on July 25th.
Okay.
And I thought since we already just overpaid them by $6,500, if you were to prorate the 7,000 that was supposed to be for a whole year, why are we giving them another 442? And the answer is because we owe it.
As opposed to a donation. So the match board will be addressing that situation next week to see what we can do, but that's a different matter than the expenditures themselves.
Okay. I guess if If that's a satisfactory answer, I'd look for a motion to approve F1. Do we have a second? A motion and a second on F1, which is presentation of warrants. Let's vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so let's move on to F5, the request to approve a general services agreement with 633 Construction LLC for Sandra Lane repairs. Judith, I believe you had the concern?
I don't have a concern about the contract itself. I'm thrilled that this work is getting done. I just wanted to know what the fund balance in the stormwater enterprise will be after this contract is paid out.
That's a great question. So this project actually came in under budget for about $179,933 for what we had allocated in the stormwater fund balance.
So what, I guess my question was, I'm grateful that it came in under budget, but after the contract is, I think a little, 472,000 and some change, what the fund balance will be. Here comes Becca, is all I was wanting to know.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be immediate. I mean, it's something that if you don't have it on the tip of your tongue, you can email it to us.
Rebecca Davis, Finance Director. The budgeted fund balance at the end of 2025 for the Storm Drainage Fund is 749,477. And if something came under budget that's in the budget, is that correct?
Yeah, correct. We had
Then it'll be higher by the difference between the two, which I didn't catch how much it's costing or anything. I just heard fund balance, so I came running up.
correct. Sorry. So just to clarify, what I had asked for, the original contract came in at $411,000, and I had asked for a contingency because we have to do some utility relocations potentially once we get into the project and address some temporary construction easements. So that difference there would be that 179. Yeah, sorry, that difference, that remaining amount should be 179,933 after this is all said and done, but I'm hoping it will be even less than that because we shouldn't have to use that contingency.
So just to clarify, the amount of the contract plus the contingencies less what you are coming under budget and will be subtracted from the 749,
Correct.
477. Thank you. That's all I needed to know. And with that, I would move to approve the general services agreement for the Sandra Lane repairs.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. Let's vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Great, thank you. So that item is approved. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Becca. Great. Let's move on then. Under business item G1, appointment of Darlene Kennedy to the ORA Board of Directors. Darlene is here. Darlene, if you'd like to come forward. Appointments to the ORA Board are made by their selection by the mayor, subject to ratification by a majority vote of City Council. Darlene has offered to step up and serve on the Board of Directors. So Darlene, if you'd like to have some comments, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, very quickly. Darlene Kennedy, 18 Villa Loma. I'm very excited to be a member of the Board of Directors. I think I have a lot of expertise and experience and commitment to be a good board member. Some of you may know me better than others. I was the real estate services manager for the city of Colorado Springs for many years. I retired last year, so I have time to do this. I was also the fire and life safety coordinator for Texas A&M University for years. So I bring that experience. And at the city, we worked on economic development projects. We worked with Jariah Walker with the URA. We worked, I think very importantly, cross-community relationships with other agencies outside Manitou Springs, you know, learning and and visiting and growing ideas. So anyway, I won't bore you with any more details.
Great, thank you. I guess I will ask council if you have any questions or comments for Darlene. If not, I would look, oh, sorry, Judith.
Oh, just a comment. I'm absolutely thrilled that you are stepping up to serve on the board, not just because of your resume and the years that you've been a resident of Manitou, but I also really appreciate your very hard work on the Land Use Development Code. And also, it's going to be really nice to have some representation in the El Paso, Beckers, Via area of town. So I'm thrilled and thank you for stepping up to serve.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments, questions? If not, I guess I would look for a motion.
I move approval.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Motion by Councilor Shada, second by Councilor Chandler. Discussion, Nancy?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to vote no on this, and it has nothing to do with Darlene's qualifications. It's because of the process used. There was no coordination to ask for the URA board's input, and yes, the mayor certainly has the authority to appoint members. But there was, I just consider that to be a lack of courtesy to our fellow Manitoids who serve on the board. And frankly, not very Manitou way of doing business. I don't think that's within the culture of Manitou. The board and the council in the past have asked for additional coordination and collaboration between our two boards. And given that the URA is under new leadership and has a new executive director, by appointing Darlene with no notice to that board, I think that that is the opposite of coordination and collaboration. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? If not, let's vote.
Motion carries 5-1 with Counselor Fortune as the dissenting vote.
Thank you. Darlene, thank you very much. Congratulations. Okay, let's move on. Next item is resolution number 1225, a resolution of the City of Manitou Springs, Colorado, and approving an intergovernmental agreement between the El Paso County Clerk and Recorder and the City of Manitou Springs regarding the conduct of a coordinated election on November the 4th, 2025. And I would look to the city clerk to just give us a little bit of explanation on this.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So the adoption of this resolution just authorizes me as the city clerk to be the city's designated election official and enter in the IGA with the county, thus allowing us to participate in the coordinated election, therefore saving costs. That's essentially it.
Great, thank you. I think we can characterize this as kind of a bookkeeping measure,
Yes.
what we do every election season. Council, if you have any questions or concern, this is a good time to ask them. If not, I would look for a motion to approve the resolution. Natalie, please.
I move approval of resolution number 1225.
I'll second. Any further discussion? Let's vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, great, thank you. It's election season, I guess it's the gates are open. Okay, next item, approval of emergency ordinance number 1725, an emergency ordinance of the City of Manitou Springs, Colorado, authorizing the execution and delivery of a base lease, a lease purchase agreement, an escrow agreement, and related documents in connection with the acquisition and improvement of certain facilities for city purposes, approving the forms of such documents, ratifying action previously taken concerning the reference documents, and providing for other matters related thereto. Bit of a mouthful for the benefit of the audience, as well as probably for the benefit of all of us. This has to do with the finance agreement for the Dillon parking lot. And we have our finance director here. Becky, do you want to speak to this?
Sure. Not only am I here before you tonight, but we also have our bond counsel, Dylan Peters, who is online tonight in case you have any more difficult questions than I am able to answer about these documents. So the process to obtain this lease purchase began back in April and has been quite a learning experience for me because I was used to just lease purchases for equipment, and this lease purchase for this project involved a lot more paperwork than I had ever experienced before in my life. At this point, we have finally reached the end of the process. And with the approval of this ordinance, we'll be able to finally close on this agreement. And I believe that closing's set for, I want to say the 28th, next week. And I could read through a lot more of this, but at this point, I think I'd rather just take questions and also any questions for Dylan that you may have.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it was quite an interesting time working through that part of the council packet. So it's good for people who have a high pain threshold. I would also mention too, and something that's fairly important, because this is an emergency ordinance, this requires only one reading. There will not be, as we would have to do with normal ordinance, there will not be a public hearing. And this does require a unanimous vote of all the council members present. So with that in mind, I guess I'd ask council if anybody has questions or comments they'd like to pursue. Judith?
Yeah, I just want to make a quick comment for the community, and that is, we don't like passing emergency ordinances unless we absolutely have to. But I support this because we have an interest rate, a very attractive interest rate. And if we do not lock in that interest rate by voting in an emergency ordinance, we stand a chance of that interest rate being higher. So hence the emergency ordinance. So that's my understanding. Becca, if I'm wrong, please correct me, but that's really the urgent need. The contract was cumbersome, but also just kind of a little bit above my pay grade for a lease purchase for a piece of land, a project. So I'll defer to the experts on that.
Okay, thank you. I think that was well said. Julie?
I'm just curious, what are we leasing?
It's a
Or
complicated.
what is the bank leasing?
Dylan, would you like to answer that?
I'd be happy to. Mayor and council members, it's a privilege to be here with you all tonight remotely. And this is a real estate leaseback transaction. And so the property that the city is proposing to lease to the bank under the base lease is the Dillon Mobility Hub property that you just recently acquired. And so it will lease to the bank that property, and then the bank immediately thereafter will lease it back to the city. And that's where you will continue to construct and finish the project on that piece of property. And so this is utilized in situations in which you don't have or don't have the time or voter approval prior to entering into this financing. So the lease purchase agreement between you and the bank is subject to annual appropriation. And those rental payments are paid out of generally available revenues that the council determines to appropriate for these purposes. If the council would determine to not appropriate those funds, it would lose the use of that property for a period of 20 years. The bank would have the right to use that property and to lease it out to others for that time being, for that 20-year period. And then upon expiration of that period, the city would get the property back. And so you're receiving the funds as a prepayment of rent for that 20-year period for the Dillon Mobility parking lot property. That's the very high level 30,000 foot view of sort of the leaseback transaction. And your resolution tonight is a delegation resolution where if you look at section 3 of your resolution, that's where you're setting the maximum parameters to where Becca, the city manager, they can make final determinations once they're able to lock the rate with the bank and create the amortization schedule. So you can see here, you can't, they could not enter into something that would require aggregate principal payments of more than 1.5 million. No year can payments be more than 250,000 or a total $2 million as a whole. And the interest rate could never exceed 6.5%, with the idea that you are actually, because of the emergency ordinance and the timing, you'll be able to lock in a lower interest rate. So that's the way that all of these documents are working together. And so this resolution is approving, as the title reads, the form of those documents subject to these maximum parameters or limits that are set forth herein.
And this is actually an ordinance, not a resolution. But
Yes, so
also the loan, the payback period, it's only 10 years. And it is planned to use the parking fund, the Mobility and Parking Enterprise Fund, to make these payments.
Thank
May
you.
I ask a follow-up?
Oh, yeah, please go ahead, Julie.
So, sir, so we're locking in the interest rate at whatever it was, 5.04 or something like that, right? Is
I
that a
believe that is the current rate that the bank has quoted, and they are unable to lock a rate for more than 30 days. And that's why this is being presented as an emergency. And Becca can talk to whether or not that rate has been locked. And as soon as, this gets approved, I think at that point you would lock the rate.
Are we locked in, or is it subject to our decision tonight?
It's subject to the decision tonight, because if you don't vote for this, then it'll have to come back as a regular ordinance, and that's a 2-week process. And then per our bond council, we'd then have to wait 30 days before we could close. So we wouldn't know what kind of interest rate we'd have.
So the 6.5% interest rate, where does that kick in? Is that only if there's a non-appropriation year?
The 6.5 is just a not to exceed number. And so ideally that will never kick in. It is just allowing Becca and other city staff to make the final determination once they lock the rate. So if the bank came back and the rate was higher than 6.5, you wouldn't have the authorization to lock the rate, and we'd have to come back to council for a different approval. But if it was 5.04, or if it was moved up to 5.1, you would then still have the authorization to execute the rate lock and close the transaction.
I see. So there's no deed of trust. There's no lien against the property. We're just doing the lease deal instead. Is that right?
That's right. You're leasing the property, and the way these financings are structured is the base lease goes 10 years longer than your lease purchase obligation. And that's really what the bank is relying on, is they're leasing that parking lot for a longer period of time than your repayment obligation under the lease purchase agreement. So there's no mortgage, there's no deed of trust. It's just a lease of that property for a 20-year period. And then you get it back, and the city retains title to that property throughout the term.
So that's basically their collateral.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dylan.
Good. Other questions from council? Well, I guess I'd look for a motion then.
I move to approve the lease purchase.
I'll second.
Okay, motion is second. Okay, let's vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Great, thank you. And that's what was required.
Thank you very
you.
much.
Great. Dylan, thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
right.
Have a great night.
You too. Take care.
Mayor, I just want to make sure that the name of the ordinance was actually
Oh, okay.
provided.
That was the
Yes.
question I was going to ask.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah, that was ordinance number 1725, an emergency ordinance of the city of Manatee Springs. I can read the whole title. It's about 6 lines long. You recommend that?
Should we have to vote again too?
Well, yeah, why don't you put it to another vote? I was.
Okay. All right, for the
Are you-
sake of decency, I'll go ahead and read the motion, and of course, it'll still be credited to the maker and the seconder. This is emergency ordinance number 1725, an emergency ordinance of the city of Manitou Springs, Colorado, authorizing the execution and delivery of a base lease, a lease purchase agreement, an escrow agreement, and related documents in connection with the acquisition and improvement of certain facilities for city purposes, approving the forms of such documents, ratifying action previously taken concerning the referenced documents, and providing for other matters related thereto. Mr.
Well,
Harvey
if
is,
that's a motion, I'll second it.
okay, and Judith, I believe you had made the original motion? I'm sorry. Judith, I'm sorry, you made
We're
the,
supposed to start over, so
Yeah.
you read it, so you can be the moving
Okay,
party.
well, then I will-
can second it, or Judith can.
oh, okay, that's fine. Well, then I will make that a motion, what I just read, and Julie will give you the second on that. Mr. Harvey, does that seem within the guidelines?
That's fine. Mayor.
Okay, great. In that case, let's go ahead and vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Dan. We appreciate you earning your keep here.
Sure.
Okay, great. Next item, H1, public hearing to consider issuance of a new entertainment facility liquor license at 404 Manitou Avenue. Z Golf Food and Beverage Services LLC, doing business as Briarhurst Manor Estate by Wedgwood Weddings. Okay, and sir, if you'd identify yourself, please.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Brandon Sandberg. My attorney registration number is 42507. I'm with the law firm of Dill, Carr, Stonebreaker, and Hutchings. I'm here on behalf of the applicant this evening, and thank you very much for having us.
Sir, if you could get the mic about 3 inches from your mouth there, you can just kind of move it there.
I'm normally super loud, so my
Okay.
apologies.
Oh, no problem.
Mayor.
Okay. And now, okay, I guess I would like to give the city clerk an opportunity to make comments before we get started, and then we'll go over the protocol.
Thank you.
Elena?
I was just going to go over the procedure for tonight. So we'll start with my presentation, which is just going over the administrative report that was included in the packet, which just addresses the exhibits attached there. We'll then go over to Brandon for his presentation, and then we'll move into public comment, or otherwise known as evidence from parties in interest. Upon conclusion of that, the applicant will then have a chance to provide any rebuttal to the concerns or issues raised during public comment, and then we'll move to you guys making a decision. So with that said, do you mind if I start?
No, please do.
Okay. So we have the application, which was submitted July 2nd. It's for an entertainment facility license, which is a new license type here in Manitou Springs. Its primary business is to provide the public with sports or entertainment activities within its licensed premises. And incidental to that, its primary business sells and serves alcohol beverages at retail for consumption on those licensed premises. The application was found to be full and no issues concerned. I did have a pending question as relating to number 16 on who the registered manager was. And only because Z Golf Food and Beverages Services currently owns the Craftwood Peak. So the listed individual, number 16, is the current manager for Craftwood Peak. And abiding by the state statute, we would not be able to have the same manager operating two different establishments. However, it's been since clarified that the listed individual, Kayla May, will actually be the registered manager for the Briarhurst once they are up and running. And then Craftwood Peak will then submit proper paperwork to change the manager at Craftwood.
And not to interrupt, Elena, but I think that's something that the council should get some clarification from the applicant on the record as well.
Dan, could you move the mic a little closer to
Sure,
your
I
mouth?
think
And then if you'd repeat what you said, please.
Sure. So I think that's something that clarification that council should get on the record in terms of the ownership and like Elena pointed out, there's an issue if there's the same owner holding two different licenses within the city. And so it's my understanding that there's an overlap, but there's going to be separate ownership based on when one facility starts versus another. And so I would just suggest that city council or at least the applicant, if you could address that when you know, when the public hearing is open and you provide testimony.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Okay, Elaine, please.
Thank you. So moving on to Exhibit B, diagram and premises. I did note in my report initially that we weren't able to facilitate an inspection. However, we were able to go over there yesterday, Monday, August 18th, and we found that the submitted diagram does reflect the how they will be operating, which includes the basement, main floor, attic, and outdoor space. I would say that we would like to have a follow-up inspection once the business is actually fully operating, just to confirm that that in fact is the correct layout, but that doesn't have any concern on the current application's approval. That's just more of an administrative task. Exhibit C, proof of possession. The applicant provided proof of possession with the submission of a lease agreement entered between 404 Manitou LLC and Z Golf Food and Beverage Services LLC. The term began April 24th, 2025 and will terminate upon April 24th, 2055. Historically, this location has not been denied a liquor license. In fact, it held a hotel and restaurant license up until January 12th. The building where the applicant proposes to exercise the privilege of alcohol beverages for consumption is not within 500 feet of a public or parochial school. And I did confirm with the police department that they don't see any issues if this license were to be granted. Exhibit D, background information. You'll note that we have a master file letter on record, and that's usually typically granted for establishments that have more than 5 licenses within the state. The individuals listed on the master file letter include John William Zaruka, William J. Zaruka, Eric E. Maurer, Brett P. Holcomb, and Trevor Bradshaw. And what that letter is confirming to is that the state continuously monitors criminal activity from the CBI and FBI agencies, and there's no current convictions within the last 10 years for those individuals listed. Exhibit E, evidence of support and need. The applicant has the burden of producing evidence that the adult residents and business owners within the designated neighborhood are in support of the application. In Manitou Springs, the designated neighborhood has been defined as all properties within 100 feet of the proposed location's property boundaries. To provide evidence of support, the applicant had Liquor Pros circulate a petition, and they did so actually well beyond the 100-foot boundary. The petition summary indicated that contact was attempted a total of 272 times on August 13th, 2025, from 10 a.m. to 6:30, and they obtained a total of 76 signatures. 100% of the business signatures indicated they support the issuance of the requested license, and 98% of residential signatures indicated they support the issuance of the requested license as well. Lastly, Exhibit F, notice of public hearing. So we sent a preliminary findings and hearing notice to the applicant on August 6th, and the notice of public hearing on the matter was published in the Gazette on August 8th, and the location was posted with the notice hearing as well on the premises. It notified people that they had until August 19th to submit public comment. As I wrote this, there was no public comments submitted. However, we did receive a letter today, and you all have been provided a copy of that. That's it.
Thank you, Elena. So I guess to sum it up, you don't have any, from your perspective as city clerk, you don't have any?
No, I don't see any issues with
No
granting.
issues. Okay. Before we go on, I'd like to give council an opportunity to ask Elaine any questions. We'll be coming back. Okay. Sorry, Julie?
I'm not sure this is relevant, but based on the letter that we have, would this property be subject to the quiet hours of after 10 p.m.?
Well, I would assume yes, just because that is our ordinance that the quiet hours begin at 10 p.m.
I didn't know if the ordinance had an exception for any
No.
particular businesses anywhere.
It does not, no.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. With that, let's go to the applicant's presentation. Brandon?
Thank you very much. I will first call Ms. Garrettson. She's with Liquor Professionals to testify, please. This is the company that conducted the petitioning that I believe you all have copies of.
Okay. And Miss, if you'd give us your name, business affiliation, and an address.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. For the record, my name is Eva Garrettson, last name Garretson. I am one of the owners of Liquor Licensing Professionals doing business as Liquor Pros.
Mr. Mayor, can I have a brief presentation with her?
Sure.
Thank you. Ms. Garrettson, how long have you been associated with Liquor Professionals? We'll say Liquor Pros.
Since 2013.
Okay, and give the council a little bit of background on what Liquor Pros is, what it does.
So we are a professional company that conducts needs and desire surveys regarding the new or transfer license, but we provide the surveys for liquor, marijuana licenses, cabaret licenses throughout the entire state of Colorado. We also conduct measurement, distance measurements to schools or other facilities, particularly with retail liquor stores in the state as well. And then we are listed as a responsible vendor trainer for the state of Colorado under Liquor Enforcement Division.
And your company is an independent third-party petitioner, is that correct?
That is correct.
Can you describe what that means to the authority, please?
What this means is that we do not guarantee results for the applicant. We simply provide the survey and the results are as is. We provide factual information when presenting any information regarding the application, especially on the on our agreement with the applicant. It states specifically in there that we do not guarantee results, which means we take a no just as much as we take a yes.
And in your approximate 12 years, how many petitions have you been a part of with Liquor Pros?
Oh, I've hit 4,250.
Okay. Who's counting?
Right.
And
Feels like it.
approximately how many jurisdictions around the state have you performed petitioning for?
Now, just including Alamosa County right now, we've surpassed 120 different jurisdictions in the state of Colorado.
And those jurisdictions do include Manitou Springs, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. I want to talk about this matter here. Did you perform the petitioning for the applicant in this matter?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Can you please describe the process and the results?
Sure. So prior to the start of the survey, our surveyors are briefed on the type of liquor license that is being applied for. In this case, it's the new entertainment facility license. This particular license was actually broken up this last year. So we do want to make sure that the surveyor knows exactly what this type of license is involved and what type of alcohol is involved. Because of the many types of liquor licenses out there, this one does contain a full liquor license, which means your fermented malt beverage, your wine, and your spirits. Once again, we go through the area in the designated area. Miss Elena has been just amazing to work with. In working over 120 different jurisdictions, it is very frustrating when we don't get what we need, but she has been amazing and on top of everything. So I do want to give a shout out to her. It is very helpful when folks know what they're doing. So she did amazing. She provided us with direction. Once again, we did have the 100-foot, didn't have anything in there. So she allowed us to expand that out to the city of Manitou Springs. So what we did was we kind of break it up into quadrants and we grab feedback in and around. If we do find areas of concern, we camp out a little bit more in those areas. We carry with us both a business and a residential packet. On the business packet, we do ask those folks to identify themselves, whether they are a business owner and manager, by circling in order to make sure that they are a qualified signer. With residents, we do get to the door. We do ask if they are a resident at that address. At that time, we hand over a petition packet. With the packet on the front cover sheet, we do have the applicant's name, their location. We also had a map, as you will see in the packet as well, stating where this particular license is located in reference to where they are at. And it actually even has the hearing information. So if those folks have any questions or concern, we always invite them to attend the public hearing in order to address any concerns with the authority directly or the applicant, because we don't guarantee results. And if we don't know the answer, we simply say we don't know. If they have any additional questions. Once we give that to them, we of course try and be as helpful as possible. But once again, we stay with our factual information. And then at that time, once we receive everything back, it comes into my hands. We do a thorough audit of that petition packet to make sure that signatures are there, age requirements are there, everything looks in order. We then compile the report, and that was turned in directly to Miss Elena.
Thank you. And again, you did turn that in as required, correct?
That is correct.
And I believe your results are part of the petitioning packet. You have copies if the authority needs any.
Yes, we have a pretty complete packet, yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. Based on your experience of doing over 4,000 petitions, what is your opinion regarding needs and desires based on this survey results?
I went back and looked on Liquor Enforcement Division, counting tavern licenses, hotel and restaurant liquor licenses. This is the only entertainment liquor license you have here in Manitou Springs currently. This would be the only one. But given other licenses with on-premise serving full liquor, there's about 20 here in Manitou Springs. But the 99% clearly shows that there is still a positive need and desire for this license in the area, and that the existing outlets have not yet met that need.
Great. Thank you very much. I have no further questions for Ms. Garrettson, but if council or the authority have any questions, please.
Okay. Yes, thank you, sir. And just to remind council, as I remind myself, this part of the presentation, the expectation is that the applicant will provide evidence to support approving the application, including the applicant's past experience in the sales and service of alcoholic beverages, the financial backers of the proposed establishment, the reasonable requirements of the neighborhood that establish a need for the issuance of a license, and the desires of the inhabitants of the neighborhood. So with that in mind, council, if you have any questions at this point that you'd like to ask of the applicant, this would be the time to do it. They will be coming back, however, a little later. Nancy?
Yeah, I don't think I found this in the packet, but was there any reason that the individual who voted no gave why he or she voted no?
No, and usually we try and be very respectful and not try and draw out information. But once again, if they do have any questions of concern, there was one concern regarding the apple trees around the property. So there was concerns of that, but that was it. Basically, everybody else didn't have any sort of issue, or there wasn't any sort of issue that came back to me from the surveyor. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Julie?
And so will we still be hearing from someone to attest to the fact that we don't have the double identity or whatever that is, the same person?
Yes, we do have a representative from the applicant that's going to be here, and I'm happy to address that issue now if that's helpful for you, council member.
Okay, no, as long as we hear from the applicant or someone with authority who can confirm that we're not going to have a problem with that. I also have a question for the city attorney if I could, but I don't know if I should hold that.
I think it'd be appropriate to ask it now.
Would a violation of the quiet time 10 p.m. rule authorize a revocation of the liquor license?
Yeah, I think it could potentially. Yeah, I mean,
Dan, can you get a little closer to the mic?
sorry. Yeah, typically there's a requirement that not only there's a compliance with state law as well, but potentially also local requirements as well. So I think that would, if after, say, they receive the license and there's some kind of a violation, I think that's something that.
Okay, we have a letter here from the Schmidt
Okay.
family.
And Julie, we're going to get into the public hearing, and I believe the Schmidts are here. So perhaps we should let them speak and then address.
Oh, yeah,
the-
no, I'm not going to have them speak. Okay, I'll word it differently. There's an allegation here that the same applicant owns and has a liquor license at another location in Manitou Springs, and that they advertise wedding options that go through 11 p.m. and that allegedly there's a lot of noise. I don't know that we don't have any decibel reading documentation here, so I was therefore curious about whether if we have the same issue with this same owner in the new location, if that problem is the same at the new location with refusal to honor the quiet time after 10 p.m. Because of offering, events that will go through 11 p.m. I just wondered what council's options would be to respond to that other than issuing a silly little fine or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of, for purposes of the hearing today, I mean, there would have to be some documented, violations. There would have to be some kind of citation, and I think before any type of action were to take place.
But that would be one of the potential remedies is the revocation of the liquor license.
I believe so, yeah. And I'd like to take a deeper look just to double check for you, but
Thank you. I have nothing
Sure.
else.
Okay, thank you. Anything else for the applicant at this time? Guess not. Thank you, sir. You'll have an opportunity after the public hearing to.
We still had one more witness, Mr. Mayor.
Oh,
I've
I'm sorry.
been
Okay.
trying other-
All right. Okay, please do. Go
Great,
ahead.
thank you. And then I can just briefly address the registered manager matter with on-premise licenses such as an entertainment facility license. You have to register a registered manager. That was done in this case. My reading of the statute, I think, is different than your local council. My reading of the statute is that the same person can be a registered manager for multiple locations for this license type. However, the city has requested that we have separate registered managers for the location, so we are happy to comply with that. So the current registered manager for the other Manitou Springs location is going to be the registered manager for this new location, and we'll have a separate manager that will be the registered manager for the currently licensed. So as to comply with locals' requests, we will have two separate registered managers. Yes, the one that's going to be at this location, her name is Kayla May. And whenever there's a change in manager, the licensee has 30 days to report who the new manager is that's going to be taking over. So once we have that information, we can provide that.
Can you spell that for the record, Kayla May?
Sure. Her name is Kayla. Last name is May, May. You're very welcome.
Thank you. If
Perfect. I can call, again, a representative with the applicant. This is Nicole Manders. Ma'am, if you can please introduce yourself and spell your name.
Yes, my name is Nicole Manders. Sorry.
We have to get super close to it.
Nicole, last name Manders.
Ms. Manders, how are you associated with the applicant? When I say applicant, I'm just going to use the shortened term Wedgwood, okay? How are you associated with Wedgwood?
Yes, I am the multi-unit manager here in Colorado Springs, so I oversee these locations.
Okay. And when you say these locations, how many locations do you oversee?
I will oversee 4.
Okay. And those are stretched between Colorado Springs and Manitou Springs, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And how long have you been with Wedgwood?
Since 2018.
Okay. And in your not supposed to do public math, in your approximate 7 years, how many, what are the different roles that you've held in your 7 or 8 years with Wedgwood?
Yeah, so when I started with Wedgwood, I started out as a captain, so I worked the events throughout the night. And then I got promoted to selling the weddings and planning them. And after that, I started coordinating them. And now I became a general manager, and I just recently got promoted to the multi-unit manager.
And you have worked at locations that have liquor licenses previously, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, how often are you in communicate, either on site or in communication with other managers at each location?
So I speak with the managers on a daily basis, weekly basis, and I'm on site every other week.
And what are some of your duties and responsibilities as a multi-unit manager?
Yeah, so I am the general manager of our other location, so I oversee that one, and then I oversee the managers of the other properties as well.
Okay. And for those that have not been to a Wedgwood venue or location, how would you describe Wedgwood?
Wedgwood is a family-run business. It was founded by a husband and wife, and their son is actually our CEO currently. So we're all about family and small town feels. And then we are a wedding venue, but we do more than just weddings. We do birthday parties, seminars, celebration of lives, but mostly weddings. But what makes us a little bit different is that we do offer an all-inclusive package. So we have food and beverage and all the types of vendors that you could potentially need to host an event.
And let's talk about a wedding, for example. What would that all-inclusive include?
Yeah, so we do our food and our liquor, and then DJ is a huge thing. But then we also provide cakes and florals, as well as an officiant vendor, as well as some other just fun things.
And this all-inclusive to be able to offer the ability for alcohol, is that something that makes us unique in the wedding industry?
Yes. Mhm.
And is that a draw for a lot of our customers, is the ability to have alcohol for their events such as weddings?
Yes.
And approximately how many locations does Wedgwood have, not only in Colorado, but around the country?
We're expanding, so I think we're about 75 or 76 locations as of today.
And how many in Colorado, approximate?
11.
And let's talk a little bit about this location, Manitou Springs. I'm sure the authority is aware of the history of the location, but talk a little bit about what makes it so unique.
We get a lot of out-of-town guests who want to come to like a small town feel. That's kind of what Manitou is. We get a lot of that with our Craftwood location. But I mean, the city is just beautiful. The pictures are gorgeous with your red rocks and all the trees. Yeah.
So it's one of the showstoppers?
Yes.
Okay. And then just to hit on a legal point, whenever we do have alcohol that's being served, we do have food that's available. Is that correct?
Yes.
And food is part of that all-inclusive package that we offer.
Yes.
Let's talk about our employees. I know this location is not open yet, but approximately how many employees do we anticipate having at this location?
Anywhere between 5 to 15.
On any given event?
Yeah.
Okay. And do a lot of our, we're going through the hiring process now, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And typically, do a lot of our employees come from the surrounding area?
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about the number of managers that we'll have at this location. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we'll have the general manager, so that's Kayla. She'll be moving over once we open. And then we have our coordinators, which are also our managers as well. And then during the events, we have what is called as our banquet captain. They are the manager throughout the entire event once the general manager leaves.
Can you talk a little bit about the training that our staff will receive specifically regarding alcohol service?
Yep, so any bartenders that we do hire, we always have them train anywhere from 3 to 5 shifts with another bartender within Colorado Springs. So whether that they go to their venue or we have those bartenders come to this location specifically. And then we also have like a bartender manual that we always have printed behind the bar too, if they need help.
So in addition to one-on-one training and manuals that we provide, talk a little bit about the alcohol policies and procedures that we will have in place.
Yeah, so we have pour spouts. We have 1 ounce pour spouts to help with not over consumption. We always have a security guard on site for any event that we have. They also stay about 30 minutes after the event to make sure that people get home safely, whether that's them driving themselves or if they get Ubers or Lyfts or anything like that throughout the night. We keep all of our liquor locked up in what we call like a liquor cage or a liquor storage room. We only have about 3 people who should have access to keys. That's the general manager, the chef, and then the banquet captain, who is their manager on duty for that night.
We also ID, is that correct?
Yes, we ID.
Okay. And when you mentioned 1 ounce pours, standard pours for hard alcohol is typically 1.5 ounces, and you are actually less than that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. As part of that, to make sure it's controlled and everyone's staying safe and responsible?
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the layout. And I believe the authority, you all have copies of our layout. Is that correct?
Yes, that's in the packet.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. All right, if you want to go through each page and again, just give an overview of what you're looking at and describe the layout, please.
Yep, so the first page is the basement with some storage rooms. So for this one, we would probably just have one of our liquor storage rooms in this basement. The second page is going to be where the the fun happens. We have our main ballroom up at the top, and then we have our bar as well as some restrooms and some office spaces. The next one is going to be the top floor. That is where we are going to have our groom's room in the top part of it. And then we will have our bridal suite. So a groom's room, we usually give them a few rounds of beers before the ceremony. And then same with the bridal suite, a bottle of champagne and cider as well. And then this one will also have our general manager's office on this floor. And then the top room, the attic, that's just probably going to be a little bit more storage as well. And then we have what is the outside of it. So we will have a patio area that will have cocktail hour. So we will want our guests to be able to walk out on that patio with their drinks and be safe.
We are looking to license everything that was outlined. Is that correct?
Yes.
And we do have monitoring throughout that occurs. Is that right?
Yes.
And that's not only staff, but also security?
Correct.
Okay, and security is part of the all-inclusive that we offer. Is that correct?
Yes, it's actually required.
It is a requirement.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. And just to touch on a couple legal matters, again, we do have a lease that's in place for greater than 1 year. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then posting, I believe the clerk already mentioned that that was completed, right?
Yep.
And what is the estimated or hopeful opening date?
I believe the beginning of October, October 7th, I believe.
And I have no further questions for Ms. Manders, but if opposing counsel or if the authority has any questions, please.
Council, any questions? I guess not. Thank you. If you'll take your seats, please, we'll go ahead and conduct the public hearing portion of this, and then you'll have an opportunity to come back and clarify or rebut comments made during public hearing.
Understood. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And before I open the public hearing, one nuance here that I had not realized until a couple of days ago is that the individuals of the public are asked to remain available in case city council has questions. We typically, during, for instance, our unscheduled appearances, we don't have any dialogue with the speakers, but it's conceivable that we would want to ask questions, and that's provided for in the code. So with that, at 7:07 p.m., I will open up the public hearing. Anyone who would like to speak to this is welcome to do so now. And we have received a letter from Richard, Sharon, and Aaron Schmidt. They provided a letter this afternoon to City Council. So Richard, if you'd like to start off, we would ask you, if you can, to keep your comments to about 3 minutes. And Richard, if you'd give us your name and address to start off.
Richard Schmidt, 17 Mayfair Avenue, Manitou. I just basically have questions. We wrote the letter that you have a copy of. And so for the
Well, Richard, maybe if you want, I can read the letter so the audience can hear it, and then we'll start your 3 minutes, okay? So that way, that'll provide the rest of the audience with a little bit of background. And council, if you haven't had a chance to read it previously, this will give you an opportunity to do so as well. So this is dated today to Manitou Springs licensing officials. We are Richard, Sharon, and Aaron Schmidt and live at 17 Mayfair Avenue in Manitou Springs. Our lot is bordered by Mayfair Avenue and El Paso Boulevard, directly south of the Wedgwood Craftwood Peak Event Center. From our point of view, as neighbors of the Craftwood, we have had a decent relationship, but also some serious problems with noise. These problems are centered around outside amplified sound, often above the established decibel level, and an unwillingness of the employees of the Craftwood to honor Manitou's quiet hours of 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. Specifically, they have offered a wedding option that ends at 11 p.m., which often involves many loud toasts of yelling, cheering, and cars aggressively leaving the neighborhood. It seems that the consumption of alcohol plays a significant role in all of this. As respectful neighbors, we have tried to speak with the managers of the Craftwood with mixed results. To her credit, the manager has given us her phone number, but she is not on site at night when these problems occur. It appears this same company, Wedgwood Weddings, has purchased the Briarhurst Manor estate and is in the process of applying for their liquor and entertainment licenses. As neighbors, we are concerned about a significant negative impact on the neighborhood including noise, access to the site by large trucks, among other things. Respectfully submitted, the Schmidt family. So Richard, we'll start your 3 minutes now, sir.
Okay, thank you. That says it all. So I just simply have questions for Wedgewood in terms of what their plans are.
If you would like to state those questions publicly, then when they have a chance to come back, perhaps they can address it. And I would ask Brandon if you can make notes as you go. All right. Okay.
So you've already touched on one question, and that is whether or not the Craftwood and now the Briarhurst will have the same owner. Another question is, are there plans for any outdoor amplified sound? The third question is, will 10 p.m. be your quitting time? And just out of curiosity, over the years, we've had large delivery trucks trying to find the Briarhurst when it was a restaurant. And so the question is, will you be using the El Paso Boulevard entry or some other entry for large semi-type delivery trucks? And then, another question. What would be your maximum number of people per event?
Okay, we have 4 questions, I think. Okay. All right, Richard, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, Richard.
Sir, I'm just curious with respect to the part of your written statement that says that it's loud after 10 p.m., which wouldn't surprise me for a wedding. Have you ever notified the Manitou Police and asked them to bring their sound decibel machine with them so that they can document whether it's too loud, louder than what the law in Manitou permits?
I think we called once. We hate to do that.
I would suggest that's probably
But-
the only way you can get anything done about it.
Yeah, we talked to the planning director and that's what he said. That's the only option we have.
Good. Any other questions from Mr. Schmidt? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, do we have anyone else who'd like to speak to this? Members of the audience, the public? Yes, sir. Come forward, sir.
Ram, council members and city staff. My name is Tom Lundgren. Tom Lundgren, Lundgren. I live at 415 El Paso Boulevard, which I believe is the closest residential neighbor to the east of the Briarhurst. I also live across the street from the Craftwood, so I can attest to the fact that some of the allegations that were made, I would definitely swear to. But let's talk about the Briarhurst. I'm glad to have the Briarhurst occupied. I'm looking forward to some great friendly neighbors, real sense of community. But I do have some concerns. The quiet hour is a big one for me. 10 o'clock, I don't want to hear a lot of revving engines, a lot of screaming people, a lot of loud music. So I'd like to see that 10 p.m. enforced, and we'll call the police if we need to. My question is, how do we make that happen? You know, you call El Paso County now, and then I guess they get in touch with somebody here, and hopefully they'll have a meter. But that's beside the point. My main question is, drunken people leaving the Briarhurst, coming onto my property and doing things I don't want to talk about. So is this patio going to be fenced off so that these people can't roam the neighborhood and pose a menace? That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Tom, can you hang on there? Does anyone have questions for Mr. Lundgren? I guess not. I believe you were clear then. Thank you, sir. Okay, do we have anyone else who wants to speak to this? I guess not. So with that, I will close the public hearing at 7:14 and we'll call back the applicant. Okay, so the applicant, you heard the comments from the two gentlemen here in the public. If you could respond to some of those things.
Absolutely. I wrote notes, so hopefully I answered the questions that they raised. And again, do understand the questions they have. I do think a lot of it's speculative, thinking or hoping the worst when I don't believe what's going to occur. The questions for Mr. Smith, same owners. Yes, it is the same ownership group. Outdoor amplified sound, that is something that will be turned off as required by your municipal code. So we will be following that. And I believe that is 10 p.m. The road, yes, I do believe that road is going to be used that he referenced. And then asking the maximum number of people that can attend event. That is unknown at this point. That's part of, I believe, city inspections that they will let us know what the certificate of occupants would be and how many people will be allowed. So that's something that's actually, I believe, going to be set by your city. So that would answer, I believe, his question there. For Mr. Lundgren, I believe, yes, we do understand and we will respect quiet hours, do understand that there are neighbors around and that's a residential area as well as commercial. So do understand that. Being concerned if there are going to be drunk people leaving, again, as the applicant has mentioned, Ms. Manders talked about, we have controlled pours to make sure that people are staying safe and responsible. As you know, in your town, you have hotels that are walkable, you have Ubers, you have Lyfts, you have safe places for people to leave. We do also have security that is required with the packages that are purchased by our customers, our clients. And part of security's job is they stay after the event to make sure that people are being safe and to keep noise down. So that is something that my client takes very seriously. We do have, and if you prefer to hear it from Ms. Manders, I can have her do that as well. The other location that Mr. Smith was referencing, they do have decibel readers there. That is something that our staff has, decibel readers. They go outside and check what the decibels are to make sure that they're staying within the city ordinance requirements. DJs do also have sound information, so they are able to make sure that they are within those required limits. I know that Mr. Smith and his family have contacted Miss May. If he and Mr. Lundgren are willing, I'm happy to, after our hearing, to chat with them outside and have Miss Manders chat with them as well, just to make sure we're fully understanding any concerns that they are worried that may come up so we can address those on the front end, and also to collect their information to make sure it gets passed along so we can have that open dialogue. Because again, we understand that in addition to commercial, there are residents that are around and we want to be a good member of the community. I believe my client has shown that they are a good member of the community. The fact that they've been here for approximately 3 years. I'm not aware of any liquor violations or anything that's come to the board's attention or the clerk's attention. So I do believe that we are appropriate. We are good operators. And if you have any further questions or if you want me to have Ms. Manders testify regarding those decibel readers, I'm happy to have her answer those as well.
Okay, thank you. Council, questions? Julie?
Yes, I would like to know if you're willing to notify your guests that it is that the location is in a residential area, both locations, and that the guests are encouraged to not beep their horns and do on their cars and do things that people would normally do to celebrate the festivities of a wedding, so as to not risk losing your business license. Is that something that you're willing to be sure that guests are notified of that kind of a warning so we can try and prevent future problems, even if it doesn't violate the decibel ordinance, just out of due respect to the location being smack dab in the middle of a residential area?
Completely understand there's legal requirements and there's also being a courteous neighbor. And my client understands that. My client does that and they will do that at this new location as well. That is part of the reason why they have security. In addition to it, is to notify people when they are leaving. We got neighbors, be respectful, be kind. And if there is someone that is being loud, they can be directed by our security that doesn't happen. That's not allowed, or to even bring them back inside while they wait for an Uber or a Lyft. Just again, to be respectful, not even considering decibel levels, but just being a respectful neighbor. Absolutely.
Thank you. Other comments from council? I believe that Mr. Schmidt had also asked, he had a question about large delivery trucks. Brandon, I don't think I heard you touch on that.
Again, my legal position would be, I think that's outside the scope of liquor licensing, but my understanding is the road may be used for deliveries. Is that correct, Ms. Manders?
Yes.
Okay, so, okay. That was a question he'd asked, but, all right, so I guess the points and, council, I'll just reiterate these and let's see if you have any questions relative to them. There was a question Mr. Schmidt asked about outdoor amplified music. There's been a response to that. Concerns about a 10 p.m. shutdown and enforcement after that, which was voiced by both Mr. Schmidt and Mr. Lundgren. The maximum number of people, the response was unknown at this time. Question about large delivery trucks, I just commented on it. And then Mr. Lundgren, I think also, he asked about patio fencing or something. The intent I got was, or my understanding was, what provisions would you take to keep your patrons on your property and not have them wandering off into his yard? Is that can be addressed?
And the layout that we have specifies where alcohol can be served and consumed, and it cannot leave that. So it is designated so our guests are aware of that. And again, that's why we have not only security, but we have our own staff members that are cognizant of those things and will, again, be respectful.
Thank you. And I can appreciate your situation on that, but it's hard to control people's behavior, especially after they've been drinking. So just, it's, you know, and it's, I mean, the whole area, it's a nice neighborhood. And I think we're concerned about making it a peaceful and pleasant place for everybody. I guess I'd like to see a little more vigor in the enforcement to make sure people are well behaved.
And if someone is not well behaved, my client has the same ability as community members where they can alert police if that's something that's needed, or to ask them to leave.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments, council? I guess not. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. And with that, we'll return to the city clerk. Do you have any comments?
No, nothing. Well, so just to confirm, there hasn't been any sort of complaints officially filed, and there haven't been any violations reported from the state regarding either establishment. Nothing else to add.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate that, Elena. All right, council. So now the question comes to us. We are in the phase for discussion and deliberation on this. So I'll open it up to council comments. Does anyone have anything? I guess it seems like the applicant in general has met the criteria that we essentially look for. There are some concerns by the neighbors that I think are worth mentioning and clarifying. I guess the general feeling I have is that council would be probably inclined towards approving this, but I do think we want to make it clear that we're looking for a good neighbor. And I guess so I think the first point is, and you've addressed this, Brandon, is that clarifying the thing about the criteria about the registered manager. So when you get that worked out, if you provide that information to the city clerk for her records.
Absolutely will do. And she's been wonderful, by the way. She's been amazing to work with. So
Great.
just so you know.
Well, good. Thank you. We appreciate that. Yeah. And also, I think probably since she only had the opportunity to do a premises inspection today, I think when you get a little closer, it might be appropriate to have her do a follow-up premises inspection. I don't think that'd be a big problem or a huge imposition. Would that be okay with you guys?
We'd be happy to have her back out, and I'm happy to help with coordination if that's helpful.
Okay, sounds good. And entirely separate from the liquor license ordinance, or it could be, is that our noise ordinance, we need to have that enforced and observed. And as the attorney indicated, it could be grounds for suspension or revocation of a liquor license. I don't think we want to see that. I think we're looking at neighborly behavior. So I think the city clerk can provide you with a copy of the noise ordinance. I believe 10 o'clock is the last of the amplified electronic music. In the Schmidt's letter, they indicated that I think they said that part of the package is that the things could continue to 11 o'clock. I guess they can go to 11 o'clock as long as it's not noisy. Okay, so you're good with that. 10 o'clock shut down. The number of people, I can understand that's an unknown now, but if you have a large number of people who are well behaved, that's one thing. And if you've got a small number of rowdy people, that's entirely different. So again, we would ask for good behavior, and I don't think we doubt that you could achieve that. So those are my thoughts. I mean, subject to those conditions, I think I'd be willing to move approval of this liquor license. I'd ask council for your thoughts.
I'll move for approval. I can move for approval.
Okay, and Julie, then you would move for a motion to approve, subject to the conditions I put on it? And those are a little,
Can I ask a
Dan, I
clarifying-
might look for a little advice from you. I think probably, I don't want to be too vague. I want to state things so that we can try and take care of the neighborhood and yet get them a functional license.
We're required to follow the law, so conditions to follow the law are not conditions for a license. I'm sure your counsel can explain, your attorney can explain that to you, but we understand that we have to follow the law in order to maintain a liquor license. So I don't think conditions would be needed because you're asking that we follow the law
Okay,
respectfully.
that's understood. Yeah, and that's basically it. Yeah.
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 Sorry. So council, yeah, I would agree. I think there's generally a requirement in the liquor code for compliance with the state licensing requirements and, no unreasonable noise and local laws as well. So I think kind of the way you laid it out, I think you can kind of generally do a motion to approve the liquor license, as is.
Okay, thank you.
So
Yeah.
Mayor, my motion, I understand that the applicant would, could possibly lose their business license and or their liquor license if there are grounds to do so. But at this time, my motion is to simply approve the request for the license, the liquor license. And that's simply subject to the testimony that there will be a separate manager whose name was read into the record. So I would move to approve.
Okay, thank you. In that case, I'll second that motion. Any further discussion from council? Deliberation? Okay, let's vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Can I ask,
Congratulate.
I'm sorry, can I ask one clarify? I just want to make sure I understand correctly. So
Sure.
the license was approved just as is, and then Councilmember Wolf, you just want us to confirm that we will follow the law with our registered manager application? Which
Yeah.
we will. We will.
Yes.
Okay.
Just subject to, in other words, the approval is subject to the statements you've made on the record confirming the person whose name you spelled out for us is going to be listed as the manager.
She is already in the liquor license application. Miss May is listed in this new application as our registered manager. The other location where she currently is at and also registered, we are going to remove her from that one and we'll have a new person registered there. But your request, it's been done already.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to clarify. And again, appreciate everyone's time. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Congratulations on your new venture.
Thank you.
Okay, council, we are hit the magic time of 7:30, so I suggest we take a 15-minute break and come back. We have one more hearing after this. Would you all take your seats, please, and we'll go ahead and get started in a couple minutes. Okay, let's get started again. Okay, so the next item includes a public hearing. This will be second reading and public hearing of ordinance number 1625, an ordinance submitting a ballot issue to the registered electors of the city of Manitou Springs at the city's November 4, 2025 regular election to increase the excise tax on ticket sales and admission fees and to permit the city council to decrease and increase such excise tax. Thank you. And when the excise tax, yeah, would not.
Not to exceed.
Not exceed
14%.
14%.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Denise, did you want to make any opening remarks or I think we've gone over this pretty thoroughly in the past. We will have a public hearing. Guess I'll open up if council has any initial comments or remarks you'd like to make, that'd be fine. If not, we'll move to a public hearing. Okay, in that case, it's 7:48. I will open a public hearing for this matter, the ordinance. I believe there were copies of the ordinance on the table earlier. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak to this? Sir? Well, I guess if you're Steve, you filled out the form, didn't you? Okay, thank you. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to overlook you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council, for the uncompensated work you do every day on behalf of the city and its residents. It means a lot, and we appreciate it. My name is Steve Zarnicki. I live at 331 Crystal Hills Boulevard. I certainly recognize and appreciate the budget deficit that we're facing, and know that that's a complex issue for us to navigate. I have three specific concerns about this tax increase being used to cover the majority of that anticipated deficit. The first of which really has to do with the amount of the tax. It's a pretty high tax if it is taken up to 14%. I certainly haven't been able to find any community in the country that through my research that has a 14% tax on admission fees or ticket sales. And generally, I don't think it's great to be on the vanguard of the highest taxes in the country for specific types of taxes. Secondly, I'm concerned about the efficacy of this tax to actually cover the budget deficit. Obviously, there's ongoing litigation that may limit the benefit and potentially eliminate the benefit of this tax, actually reaching it to city coffers. And for us to put the majority of our eggs in a basket that might have a giant hole in the bottom of it to cover this tax deficit may not be the wisest path forward. Third, I'm concerned about, there's also a lot of people who pay this tax, certainly tourists primarily, but there's a lot of local people who do use the COG, for instance. But, this tax, I don't know if it's being charged to a lot of the other entities that it would seem to cover. Any cover charges, door charges at any of the establishments in Manitou, the zip line, haunted tours, any festivals that have tickets that are operated by entities that aren't exempt from the tax. There's a lot of different groups that this tax will impact. In short, I just feel like You know, it's the 11th hour now, and we probably have to take some action to get something on the ballot. And I wish we were talking about this in May, when there could be more time to discuss alternatives and potential solutions. For instance, I think the tax on lodging and camping could be a good source. It's not going to cover 2.4 million by any means, but you know, you could get $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 out of that tax and still keep it in line with what communities around the country charge for lodging taxes. I recognize it's challenging to get voters to approve multifaceted solutions through different tax increases, which is probably the best way to go.
Excuse me, Steve, you're a little over 3 minutes now. If you could sum up, sir.
That's it.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Sorry. No, not now. We won't entertain a dialogue with the public. Do we have anyone else who'd like to speak, sir?
Good evening. My name is Robert Hefner, 10 Cliff Road, Manitou Springs, owner operator of the Cliff Dwellings up the road. And unfortunately, being a business owner and a property owner down here, I'm not a resident of Manitou, so I don't get a vote in November. However, I am one of the 4 or 5 businesses that this tax will directly impact. Currently, we're at a 5% tourism tax at the excise tax. If that goes up to 14%, I'm afraid what that's going to do is cause people to want to turn around at our front gate. We already get people who come through and they want to turn around when they find out it's $12.75 per person as opposed to per car. When they find out that there's an additional $9 or $10 tax on that car of 5 people, I believe they're going to want to not come in and spend the money up there. Which is going to be lost revenue for us, which is lost tax revenue for retail sales for Manitou that we pay. I guess one question I might have for council is how much time have we spent, or what other options have we looked at? Have we looked at, can we charge something for hikers on the incline? Can we increase the retail sales tax from 2.9 to 3.9 or 4.9 or something like that? Can we change something else on a couple of different levels, or did we just pick this tourism tax and that's what we're going to bump up and triple? I mean, we're not talking from going 5% to 7%. We're talking about 5% to triple up to 14%. And while I know some of you have thought about, well, that's a cup of coffee, when you have a carload of 5 or 6 people and they all have to pay an extra $1.50 per person, it's not a cup of coffee. It's a $8, $9, $10 tax that they have to pay. I know the town of Breckenridge, there was an article out there today that they are having some kind of similar instances where they have a major hiking trail that has a lot of traffic on there, and they're proposing to kind of do an every other day where one day is hikers, one day is mountain bikers, and so forth. And they're worried that that is going to change their tourism, and they're going to have people who are upset by that and not want to stick around in Breck. So I guess I'm questioning if Breckenridge City Council is concerned that just a change to the hiking laws up there on these one particular trail is going to affect their tourism business. Shouldn't we as Manitou City Council be worried that a triple tax on tourism is going to affect us, and what the long-term effects of that are going to be? So I guess I'm asking you guys to not allow 4 entities, which would be us, Iron Spring Chateau, Miramont Castle, and Adventures Out West Zip Lines to pay this tax or pass it on to our guests and hope that they stick around for it. It just does not seem fair to have 4 businesses. I know there's the COG, but the COG has a whole other deal where they are a $500,000 cap limit. So really, unless there's something that's going to change with that, the COG is not going to be somebody who is paying this tax to you guys, or you're going to be reimbursing the 2.5 million or the 3 million you collect over 500,000. So I just feel like we're still going to be at a major shortfall, and this is not the solution. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Okay, with that, I will close the public hearing. Council, we are at deliberation time. So if anyone has comments, questions. Julie?
My comments are, I think this is worth a try. There's no guarantee that the outcome of the litigation will be that we have the authority to appropriate or not appropriate funds, even though our contract with the COG says that that's our right, is to appropriate or not appropriate annually as the need may be. Also, I understand that the last 10 or more years that the COG has been in business, the number of visitors rarely changes each year, even though they've more than doubled their price of their ticket over the years. So I'm not too concerned that it's going to cause a decrease in the number of patrons who choose to ride the COG. I have nothing against looking in the future at other opportunities such as the lodging tax increase or other things that may bring in, nominal but amounts of money, but still something. And I think we should move forward on this.
Okay, thank you. Other comments, Judith?
Yes, Steve and Robert, I really appreciate you coming and giving your comments. I mean, everything that you have said are things that this council has lost sleep over, those same questions on how do we move forward. And I think for me, the way I approached this is that because how do we do this, right? Do we spread it out so everyone feels just a little bit of the pain, right? We have a little bit of an increase in the amusement tax and a little bit in the sales tax and a little bit in the property tax. But the risk of that also has to be discussed. And that is, if you are going to raise several different taxes just a little bit, you have to look at your average voter in these times of this current administration with tariffs and rising costs, and the possibility that D14 will have a ballot measure to fund some stuff for the schools. Each of those, if we were to have taken that approach and kind of spread out the pain, then each of those would be a separate ballot issue. Right? We can't lump them all together in one ballot issue. So it would be a ballot issue for the sales tax and a ballot issue for the property tax and a ballot issue for the excise tax and so forth. And so when your average voter gets that mail-in ballot, they might say, well, I feel really uncomfortable with all this. I don't know if I can support this. So I'm just going to vote for this and not for those, or not any, because I'm so overwhelmed. And then we are back at square one, not having closed the budget gap. And so, so just doing an informal poll of people in my neighborhood of, if you had a ballot and it had all these questions, how would you approach this? And I got a lot of feedback of people that are really scared of any of their taxes being raised. So I really concur with Julie that while this seems like we are really focusing on businesses that have ticket sales, I think it is worth trying and seeing what happens. The council is always receptive to the residents and the business community if something's not working. So we couched the language in the ordinance to give us a range. So we can drop it. If it's, if it's, looks like it's just not working, we can come back to the table and say, these businesses are suffering. We're going to have to look at other things and we're going to reduce it. So in this ordinance is the option to do that. I don't know if that makes you any more comfortable about it. Makes me very much more comfortable and willing to try it. Because I also don't see any other, immediate solution, than sharing it between the mobility and parking enterprise and then, and moving some things there and then, increasing the excise tax and just seeing, I mean, in my sitting here, everything's a pilot study, right? Everything's a pilot here. We try something and if it doesn't work, we go back to the drawing table. But when you look at, the average ticket price of the COG, which has gone up exponentially, that is not probably the case with the cliff dwellings and other places. I don't really know, but I think that I have faith that it's just at least worth a try because I think we have a good chance of it passing if we are not throwing 3 or 4 or 5 ballot issues for tax increases on our community. Thank you.
Other comments? Julie, go ahead.
I also wanted to mention, because I don't know if the cliff dwellings gentleman is aware of this, but at first we were presented with a ballot issue that would necessarily raise the tax to 14%. And we decided at first reading to modify the wording so that it would be up to 14%, so that if we find that 14% is in fact causing any serious difficulties for any of the businesses, we have the right to go ahead and lower that. It doesn't have to necessarily be at the top of the 14%. I also think $1.15 or whatever it is extra per person. I mean, that's less than a cup of coffee these days. I'm not too worried about that discouraging people from wanting to enjoy the cliff dwellings or any of the other amusements. I don't think that the dollar increase is going to be significant.
Thank you. And I guess I'd like to add a couple of things. I think basically all the time that those of us on council, all the time we've been here, we've been aware of the marijuana tax and how much revenue that's brought in. And it was always, and I think at the back of our minds, what would happen if that were to decrease. Several times, Colorado Springs went to the polls and we expected the recreational marijuana sales in Colorado Springs would be here a lot. It would have been here sooner. And so we've been worrying about this and thinking about it for some time. And that's not to say that we haven't tried to do things. We have. I mean, we've tried to exercise some Spartan qualities in the city, trying not to spend money, but at the same time trying to get some capital projects done. We tried to be judicious with money, and I think that's just going to be a long-term story that we'll always have to be. We'll have to tighten our belt and then tighten it some more. But with that, there's a pretty significant limitation as to how much or where we can go for increasing our revenue. I think maybe Councilor Chandler alluded to the fact that this is the first step, maybe in a number of steps, as we sort of refactor our economy and our tax base. And what the next steps are, I'm not sure. People have looked at this for various times in Manitou's past, and certainly council has gone over this at our budget meetings that we have. We've had a typically day-long session twice a year, and there's always been the question, what can we afford now that we have to do? The water plant needed a lot of work. We have pipelines that break and fail. And I mean, this summer is a perfect example. You look at the intersection down there, Manitou and Crystal Park Road, right? The week before 4th of July, the sewer collapsed. We had 2 water main collapses or failures in the lower, the 100, the 0 and the 100 block of Ruxton in July, shut down the COG for all of a Saturday morning. We've got a problem right now at Sandra Lane. We're going to have to rebuild sanitary sewer in the street. And in a town with aging infrastructure, those I think are continually worrisome topics for city council, for city staff. How are we going to keep up with it? And then, of course, there's just the business of day-to-day city operations, police and fire and removing snow and that sort of thing, trying to provide nice parks and passable roads. So it's been a challenge. We've been aware of this for years, and we've been working on what we could do to fix this. We're pretty much dedicated to tourism, and we're in a narrow valley. A lot of it's devoted to residential properties. We've got some limitations, significant limitations. So it's not like council has not given this some thought and a lot of angst over it. This has been a difficult situation. And I think we all see that we need to be smarter in the future and try to figure out how to diversify the economy here, but that's a real challenge. So we have not done this. I think we've not done this capriciously. We are under kind of a time limit if we want to get this on the ballot, where we have to do something tonight to put in front of voters. This does give the city council in the future the latitude to sort of control the amount. The tax could go as high as 14%. It wouldn't have to change at all. It could, theoretically be raised, reduced. It's kind of a tool, and there's not a whole lot of tools in our toolbox. So that's a couple of my comments. Anything else from council? Judith?
Thank you, Mayor, for indulging me. I also want you to know that this wasn't an 11th hour Hail Mary. I mean, we've been talking about that this was an inevitability for many years, certainly since 2020, since I was first elected to council. And we've been working slowly in that direction, doing things like keeping a very healthy reserve in our budget. And also lately doing things like tightening, our purse strings, not necessarily redundancies, but when some positions have been become open, not filling them. And so just doing a lot of things internally that we can do. And certainly we discussed property tax and sales tax and excise tax and what it would do, and trying to inflict the least amount of discomfort while still having a pretty large budget gap to fill. So please know that we hear you. We all hear you, and hopefully, if this passes tonight and it becomes a ballot issue. This excise tax hasn't been raised since 1973, 72 was the last time this tax was increased. And I do believe that other communities are going to have to be looking at some of these things too, especially tourist communities. So just know that, we certainly didn't say, hey, we're just going to make sure that, all of the pain and suffering is here. There's going to be so many things that we're going to be looking at over the next several years. So hopefully the community, if this passes, will trust that it's worth trying, and knowing that if we don't get there, or if it really causes the businesses too much financial hardship, that we come back to the drawing table, and in the meantime still be working on other ways to enhance the revenue for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, other comments from council? I guess maybe we're ready for a motion.
Like Julie had her hand raised.
Julie, did you?
I move to approve ordinance number 1625, an ordinance submitting a ballot issue to the registered electors of the city of Manitou Springs at the city's November 4, 2025 regular election to increase the excise tax on ticket sales and admission fees, and to permit the city council to decrease and increase such excise tax, and I would mention not to exceed 14%.
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, seconded by Councilor Chandler. Any further discussion? Let's vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, thank you. So that will be going to the voters in November. All righty, that takes us to receive or act on council correspondence. Anyone from council have anything? Nancy?
Two things. One is Rick Hudson contacted me about his extreme concern about losing the 36 bus. I did advise him to have himself and his friends or his people who've been complaining to him about it to use the public process outlined by Mountain Metro, since it is outside of our ability to influence pretty much at this point. And I also advised him to talk with John Crawford about his mobility needs in the from that part of the city. Secondly, I have seen over the past couple of weeks, 3 to 4 times, I've seen police up on Crystal Park Road. And it's my understanding, I've heard that they have been giving speeding tickets, and they're at various places on Crystal Park Road. So I think that's a good thing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Let's see. I will mention, Julie, I reached out to Lan Rao at Mountain Metro to make sure I have the information right on the bus schedules. So I'm expecting to get that. If you want to hang on a second, I think I can give you what I think is correct, but I was asking her to verify it. And one of the things she announced at the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments meeting on our last Wednesday was that Mountain Metro is changing their summer schedule. It has been April to September. It's now going to be March through October. And the reason for doing that is because they've done a lot to accommodate Manitou's schedule. So Manitou basically is driving that part of the entire Mountain Metro scheduling system.
I don't know, Mayor, do you know what the deadline would be, or if we've already missed the
No.
deadline
Well,
for?
Actually, the deadline is sometime in September, but I think what we have is what we want. So I don't think we need to, I just want to confirm what they have. And I was going to run it by council, make sure that's what you want. We would have chance to have more input, but I think we have what we want. And they're going to be doing so it'd be starting next March. Well, we'll be getting rid of the Route 33 bus at the end of September, something like that. And then in March, they would be implementing more frequent bus service on the Bus 3. That's from downtown Colorado Springs to Manitou. And they will also eliminate fares. So it would be free to ride from downtown Colorado Springs to Manitou or vice versa. So maybe that'll compensate for some of the Route 36 absence.
But may I ask you a follow-up question? on
Sure,
this?
yeah.
I just don't recall from our meeting before. My sense is that, and I've heard from residents as well, that it doesn't make a lot of sense for the buses that go up Ruxton to travel after dark or, once dusk has passed, because the buses tend to be pretty empty at that point. And we would hope that most of our incliners, hikers are off the trail by then anyway. And so I don't think we really need the bus going up Ruxton after dark. And I know, the time when it gets dark, obviously changes as fall moves into winter. But I don't recall if we addressed that when we had Mountain Metro here before. Can you enlighten me?
A little bit. Now, now during the summer schedule, so weekdays, it would be 6 a.m. to 5 p.m., 15-minute service. And then from 5 to 8 p.m., it would go to 30-minute service. That'd be on weekdays. Weekends, 6 a.m. to 5 p.m., 10-minute intervals, 5 to 8 p.m., again, the 30 minutes. So they would still be running, in the summer, you'd still have light at 8 p.m. sometimes, but it would be on a reduced frequency, so 30 minutes. And I don't know what it is for the winter.
Right,
I'll have
because
to
like
get-
even October, it's pretty dark early, right? Well before 8 p.m.
Right.
So I don't know if we could cut back at all before the September deadline on the buses that go up there after dark. in the fall.
Yeah, well, the September deadline basically is for schedule changes starting next spring, which now means March. So what they've locked into, whatever its policy is in place for the rest of this year is and partly, I think, because of federal government restrictions, they're going to have to live with that, and we'll have to live with it too. But looking forward, starting in March, it'll be a little bit different story.
And it starts next March. When does that end? Or when is our next opportunity to look at the evening buses for the fall and winter?
Mayor, I can answer that.
Yeah, please.
I think a couple statements is 33 is not being canceled, so 33 will continue to operate. It will start on September 28th. It will be operating at the Dillon. And this year, they presented to us in May for the September change. So that's the same for next year. We'll have them come April. They usually go to MAPS, and then they come to us in May for any changes for the fall of the next year. So that's the time frame that we will need to have them come and look at this September, October, if you want to change the hours for 2026.
Okay.
May I ask
Thanks,
a
Denise.
question of Denise regarding?
Yeah, go ahead.
It was also my understanding when we were negotiating with Mountain Metro when they were here, to have the number 3 shuttle start, the 3 bus with free service, that the 33 would also be stopping at Fields Park. So they would do that loop. So in essence, it kind of replaces the 36 in many ways. There might be a little bit, you might have to walk a little farther, but currently that Fields Park stop would then be the 33 shuttle. And so there will still be service there. So just to let everyone know that the 36 shuttle, even though it's going away, we've really done as much as we can to compensate the neighbors in that area to make sure that you get where you're going.
That is correct. Yeah, until we get the Dillon built out with a bus stop in the Dillon, but that's a couple years out. So yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Anything else, council correspondence? I guess not. Let's go to the city administrator's report.
Just want to mention, we did hold the the water meter change out program meeting, and we had about 20 some people attend. It was very well attended, very positive, lots of great questions. It is online if anybody wants to watch it. So you can watch it online. So we'll be starting that program in about probably middle September. We'll start changing out water meters.
Great, thank you. Okay, with that, we have an executive session scheduled, so I'll go ahead and read that and ask for a motion to go into executive session. And then we'll take a little break when we transition over. An executive session to hold a conference with the city attorney for legal advice pursuant to section 5.1C of the Manitou Springs Home Rule Charter concerning Manitou and Pikes Peak Railway Company versus City of Manitou Springs, Colorado, El Paso County District Court case number 2025 CV 30766. So I'd seek a motion to go into executive session. Okay. Motion by Councilor Wolf. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Johnson. Let's vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, let's take a few minutes to transition over to executive session. And we're going to be joined, I believe, by Pat Wilson from Jeff Parker's law firm also.
That's correct.